Attention! The National Weather Service has issued a hurricane warning for the entirety of the National Hockey League. Please stay tuned for further information from the Storm Cellar.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar. Brad and Ray are here. It is chilly in Massachusetts, Ray. It's been in like the low 20s at night. The heater's on beside me. I am wearing a Hurricanes hoodie. My wife just got me a Whalers hoodie from the what's the company, 47? Like one of the ones with the laces, like the really nice ones. Oh,
wow.
I gotta put that on. So how are
Yes.
things up in the Great White North? Are they great and white?
Well, they're certainly white. And turning brown very quickly.
And gray, right?
Again, Calgary with the Chinook situation. It'll snow like it's snowing in Buffalo one day. And then if you wait long enough, the Chinook comes in over the mountains and it'll either do one of two things. It'll wipe all the snow away, or it'll only do this half-hearted job, and it, makes all of the neighborhood roads virtual skating rinks. It doesn't take all the snow away. It just starts that cleaning. It makes a bright shine on the ice. It's just like glass at times, and it's a big mess.
No moisture here yet, but yeah, shout out to anybody in Buffalo who might be under 6 or 7 feet of snow. Best of luck to those folks.
Yeah, and you know what? That's fun. That's funny. We talk about all the snow that we get out here and stuff, but the lake effect, that's what it's called, right?
Yep.
Some sort of
lake effect snow.
The lake effect snow and stuff is not anything I've ever experienced. And I've been through big, huge snowstorms, but 6 feet in, 2 days, 3 days, like that is a lot of snow. I hope everyone can be safe.
Absolutely.
And now are the Sabres aren't playing any home games, I don't think. Hey, I mean,
no, so apparently yesterday the Bills were trying to leave town. It's like you've known this was coming for a week and you waited to the last second to try and leave town to get to their game today. I think they got out, but it feels like, I mean, this isn't unusual for them. Like, it feels like better preparations. Like, you just, spend a few extra days in the hotel, boys.
Yeah, well, and the one of the things that I did hear a couple of interviews asking about just that, like, why aren't they getting out of there now? And there was a lot of statements where they said the players didn't want to leave until they knew all of their families at home were all right and taken care of and prepped, right? And
that makes sense.
So that's why they waited, but you're absolutely right. It just makes it that much harder to leave. And it's, in the balance, I wondered if they were even going to get the game in at all. Like, the fact they moved it or whatever, like, guys, maybe just postpone it and play it somewhere else. So they couldn't do that with the schedule again this year, now that they're up to 17 games. So it was like, man, oh man, if you if you imagine in Detroit, we only came with half the team, the other half couldn't make it, they're snowed in, and be like, holy cow. What a mess. What an absolute mess. I just hope everyone's safe. That's all that matters, really.
Absolutely. Who's not a mess?
Who's that?
One of my hockey, I don't want to say idols, because I don't idolize players because they're human. But Phil Kessel, who is, I love Phil Kessel because I always say, as long as Phil Kessel is an athlete, I can say that I have the body of a professional athlete myself. Phil Kessel breaks the Ironman streak last week. The first NHLer to go 1,000 games in a row out of his. Phil has been playing for a very long time. He has just over 1,200 games played, 963 points. Congrats to Phil Kessel, man. What a cool, he seems like a cool dude. He takes a lot of heat. We always joke about the hot dog thing and Phil, but sure. I mean, 1,000 games in a row in hockey is nuts.
It is. It actually doesn't feel possible. And it was kind of why I wanted Keith Yandel. Now I wanted Yandel to get it too. And we actually spent part of an episode way back when saying, how do you feel that he got pulled? And it was one of those things where I wanted him to get it. He's been to get that close. I mean, he was already the Iron Man. He had already kind of broken the record, but it was the 1,000 games type thing that was holy cow, right? And they pulled him and kept him out for the team, and it was hard to argue. It was hard to argue that they did that the Flyers were, but I felt bad for him. I wanted Gandalf to do it.
I'm glad Phil's the first to do 1,000 instead of Keith, and this is why. Keith Yandel would have been out of the game that Philadelphia postponed against the Hurricanes last season due to COVID, even though they didn't have any new players going into COVID protocol. And in fact, they actually were going to get, I think, 1 or 2 players back that game. Meaning, in my mind, that game should not have been postponed.
Oh.
Yandel would have missed that game had it not been postponed, therefore breaking it before he earned the record.
I see.
So I think this is my conspiracy theory of the day. I think that game was postponed because they said Keith can't go. They're depleted. Yeah, we will just push the game off. No big deal. Keith gets his record. So I'm happy for my boy Phil.
That's interesting. I
mean, it's probably not true, but it's fun for me to think through, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know what? It's fun. I think that if you look at the organizers and you ask them the question, they would immediately say, oh, no, of course not, or whatever. But the thought entered their head. You know what I mean? Like when they're talking about a game like that, and it might be in a fleeting thought or whatever. What I need verification on, and I thought I heard someone say this as far as for Kessel to keep this going, he went to a game and took the first shift, played the first shift, and then left so he could go back and be with his wife for the birth of a child. Did I hear that about him? I was pretty sure that's what it was.
I don't recall, but and that's cheesing it a little bit, right?
It is.
But I mean, if he skated a shift, I say he skated a shift.
Yeah. And yeah, something tells me that was done at one point because everyone knew they wanted, but they also, he wants to be where he needs to be with his wife, the birth of a child, right? I mean, that was just one of those things. And that's how a lot of players deal with that situation. You hear weird stories about that too, right? Where I can't remember who it was in baseball. Someone said the same thing, where basically, he's got players getting ready to go to the plate or whatever, and they say, "Hey, your wife. We just got to call your wife's in labor." And he turns to the guy and he says, "Okay, well, let me take my at bat and I'll be on my way," kind of thing. Like that's kind of how those things go. Yeah, good for Kessel. And you're right, hockey. How does anyone get that far? It's such a physical game, and anything could happen. I mean, you think about all of the types of ways that you can be injured in this sport. It's mind-boggling. It's a high velocity collision sport, and you're going to get lined up one of these times. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or you'll make a cut and you'll twist a blade and something will go, right? So
just any kind of tweak, right, that could keep you from Phil's last game missed was Halloween night 2009. That's just amazing.
Wow. That is amazing. And it makes me question whether or not he's made of Gumby material. Not that you could stretch it out very much, but you really can't break it. Like he's just, it's an unbelievable achievement, and certainly congratulations goes out to him. We don't have a guest today, sadly.
No guest.
Which is fine. So it's just the two of us chatting this one out, and I guess we'll start at the beginning of the week and our sojourn into Chicago, the Windy City, where we take on the Hawks, and Pyotr gets the start. And I have to tell you, I was so impressed with. He played an outstanding game. There were a few times, and I want to point out in the Chicago game, there was one particular Hawk who was fired up for that game, and everywhere on the ice, Max Domi. He was everywhere.
First line Max Domi.
Yeah, and he was giving Pyotr all sorts of trouble. Great chances, creating awesome chances. Even seeing him, like Kochetkov makes a big save with Domi all alone in front, and as Pyotr's standing up, Max gives him a tap on the pads. He's like, good save, kid. Now, whether Pyotr understood anything that Max said to him at that time, it's still,
still learning.
The tap on the pads and stuff like that. I'll tell him, respect, because you're playing great. I should have a goal right now, but you made a great save, kind of thing. Like, that's how it was. He was just positionally fantastic.
He was. And before I go into a couple specifics, Carolina beats the Blackhawks 3-0. Deservedly so. I don't think the Hurricanes necessarily had a fantastic game outside of Pyotr, but and I bring that up because it's going to tie into what we've seen the rest of the week in terms of how we play versus the results, right?
Yeah.
That game was not their best game of the week, even though that was the shutout. Pyotr gets the shutout. He also, we could talk about that in a minute. The Hurricanes make Steve Dangle's hat picks twice from this game. Yep. Once is that Pyotr poke check was straight out of the Urbe Hasek old school 2000s, goalies are weird. That was a thing of beauty. If you can't appreciate that poke check and the way that he delivered that, I mean, those are the reasons I like watching hockey.
And it was against the Oilers too, which would made it even better for me. I loved it.
Yes.
Because that break-in, he was all alone. He was skating forever. I was wondering where the hell did the rest of the team take the play off, because no one was chasing him. And he had so much space. And then when he laid out, I was like, wow. And people were hesitant. Mike Maniscalco has said it himself. You're kind of, you don't really want to suggest it, but to me, he's like a Russian Hasek. I mean, that name has kind of been thrown about. That's his style. That's his play. Aggressive, unorthodox. You don't know where he's going, and that proved everything. It was great.
Yeah,
man, I love that.
The games are running together. It's been so busy around here that everything has been running together. But yeah, the Chicago game, like I said, I don't think I don't think that was their best game.
It wasn't.
But they came out 3-0. Then the Avs come to town. The Hurricane, and this is where this team is I can see where people's frustration is coming from. I think the people who were saying things like fire Brind'Amour and
someone said fire Brind'Amour.
Somebody did, and I'm not even gonna really give them any time about it, because if you think if that's not just a troll post, then maybe hockey's not a good sport for you. I mean, it's just, I want to be inclusive. I don't want to gatekeep, but oh my gosh, I'm assuming the person was trolling.
Yeah.
But 5-on-5 versus the Avs, I thought they played really well. They dominated a good portion of the night last night too, 5-on-5. And then you get to special teams, and the Avs are the Avs, and the Hurricanes are playing like the Hurricanes on special teams, which is not, it's not a good thing for Hurricanes fans.
Yeah.
But when you look at the 5-on-5 hockey, they're playing as good as anybody in the league. And special teams is just bringing them down.
Brad, the 5-on-5, that was probably the Avs game, the most dominant that I had seen the Canes be. And the fact that they were doing it to the Avs, who, yes, have a few injuries and stuff. So maybe the scales wouldn't have been tipped as much on the 5-on-5 situation. But the Canes were just suffocating. The shot totals were unbelievable. They played exactly the way you would need to play in that particular situation. And they just, like you said, the special teams just kind of the anchor around the neck. You know what I mean? It's just what's holding us down right now. And the Minnesota game, I didn't get a chance to see. But it was funny because with you saying that both of these overtime games were the Hurricanes playing just fantastic and it just not breaking the right way, Rod Brindamore's comments were diametrically opposed. The Avs he was fine with. The Avs game he was fine with. Last night, his comments were alarming. And when I say alarming, I mean there's a few players on the team, and Rod would probably do all of them, but who would bag skate them. Like he was really not happy.
No, I have the quote right here, Ray.
Yeah, fire away because it's shocking.
He said, "We were just crap after that second half of the first. The fact we got a point out of that game is a miracle, in my opinion. We were god awful." I'm not saying it was one of their best games, but they had pressure. They were moving 5-on-5. They were moving the puck pretty well. I want to know what, not just through what lens Rod is seeing things, but what are the things that he's really focusing in on? Because I feel like a lot of times the fan base feels one way about a game and he feels the opposite.
Yeah.
It seems to happen a lot. I'd like to know what it is that he's focusing in on that we're not as a fan base.
And it might be the finer points. You know what I mean? Like there might be things that you just don't see or the camera doesn't catch. The camera follows the puck, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Rod is watching everyone. And therefore, what's going on near the puck in the action, you're kind of moved to be a part of the play and all of a sudden working hard and stuff. But my guess is it would be like the intricacies that elite NHLers have to do to be successful that he knows they can all do and just are refusing to do, even with some prodding in the back, because during the intermissions and Rod is very active coach behind the bench, always talking, always, whatever. And if he sees something that was going on where, as he put it, 3 players playing and the rest were just kind of there's no way he would let that go even for 20 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like he would be on them. And so it's maybe there is something that we're not seeing, or we just don't have the
I'm sure. When you've played hockey at the level and for the length of time, and he coaches multiple teams, including the kids teams and helping out at NC State, some of those things. Clearly, he sees things that we're not seeing, but it's just weird to me when he's like, "I thought we played great," and the fans are like, "I thought we looked terrible." It's not like there's a little difference. It's just sometimes there's a really big difference, and it's not just me, and it's not just Twitter. Looking across, fandoms. Facebook and some private message boards and things. And it's just odd sometimes to me that how different he visualizes things than we do. It's just funny to me, I guess.
Well, he sets the bar so high, right? And so, it's tough to say, but you know what? I think he's always had the ability to push the right buttons with the players. And maybe this is just this comment that he hopes people are reading is another button to push. You know what I mean? And maybe that's it. Maybe. Special teams. That's the on our itinerary of what we're talking about today. We have listed special teams. It really should be not special teams. Abysmal teams. Like
I would like to get like in Monopoly. Everybody's played Monopoly. I think you can get it. You can get a get out of jail free card.
Right.
So what I would like to see is the next time the Hurricanes are supposed to go on the power play.
Yep.
They go, nope, we're gonna bank it. And then the next time they take a penalty, they go, oh, here's our card.
Yeah, get out of jail.
We don't have to go on the penalty kill because we opted not to go on the power play. And we play the whole game as much as possible, 5-on-5. And then I think they win a bunch of games.
No,
they're not 10-5-3. They're 15-2 or something.
It's good Lord. You're right. The get out of jail free card, that would sure be lovely, wouldn't it? How in the world? What is going on? I mean, and again, Nate is on fire, right? I think Svechnikov is playing great. All of these, Aho is who he always is. Well, why are we not seeing the results?
I don't get it. And I was going to ask you, do you think it's personnel? So KK hasn't heated up yet in the way that we would expect him to play, right? He's doing the right things. Otherwise, Svech and Nate just wouldn't be getting the points they are 5-on-5.
Yeah.
He himself is not necessarily getting those points. He's also the center, right? So when the D pinches, and our D pinches a lot, his job is coverage. That's going to affect him in terms of points. So when people are looking at KK and just looking at points, his job in part is to be that defensive forward for when the D pinches in and ours pinches in all the time.
Yes.
Seth Jarvis, I think, had maybe his two best games of the season, the last two games. He looks like he's got jump in his step again, which is fantastic. But, I mean, we lost Trocheck.
Yeah.
That's a guy who can play on the power play. That's a guy who can kill penalties. But I don't feel like we've downgraded anywhere. A lot of people, myself included, would love to see them hire a special teams coach, particularly for the power play.
Yeah.
I think the penalty kill will come around. I still feel like these guys haven't really – they're just not in sync yet. But the beginning of last year, the power play was going off. And then it just died. And I still think it's movement. I rewatched that Avs game. I was looking last night that we only had 2 chances, and it looked better. But I still see – I'm going to kind of pick on Svech and say Svech floats to the front of the net and he's relatively stagnant. It's
right.
And you watch these other teams and it's constant motion. You're the goaltender doesn't know where everybody is on the ice because I see more and more passes, not necessarily crisp passes either, but the Hurricanes move the puck around the outside of the power play really well.
Yeah.
And they're putting up 40 shots a game. That's great. But we've seen that shots, quality of shots matters. And I feel like they're not doing enough lateral motion. They're not getting the puck in. And if it's not there, kick it back out. But, get it in instead of just love seeing Bernsey slap it, but when he just slaps it in there and then people are just jostling for the puck and it gets kicked out, like that's not working.
Yeah. Brad, I think the issue for both of the special teams starts a tiny bit earlier than when they get to the movement part. And that is like where they're moving on the plays and all the rest of it. To me, I think what has most been noticeable is we are not dominating in the face-off circle as much. We are not. I've always said for a puck control team, you got to win the face-offs. Winning the face-off is huge. You're always controlling the play. You start with the puck, you can dictate the terms, right? That's the way it goes.
Right.
And on the power play, of course, winning that face-off means you can start set plays, and you see that happen a lot, right? You win the draw on the power play in the offensive zone, and boom, goal, just like that, because of a set play or whatever. It's happened. And the same sort of thing can be said for the penalty kill. You win the draw, and your guy gets the puck, fires it down the ice. You've knocked off 15, 20 seconds like that. And all of a sudden that that extra 20 seconds can be everything for the penalty kill. You know what I mean? And so if you're not starting with the puck, if you're not dictating the play, I mean, that's where I think it maybe begins. If we start winning the draws more, the success rate will go up. But yeah, winning draws and the face-offs, it feels like we're down with that significantly too.
It feels like the whole team has taken a half a step back from last year.
Yeah.
And it really, when I think about it, it's not so much that. This is a continuation of the second half of last year. That step back happened mid-season, right? That happened over that Christmas break, around the All-Star break, and they just haven't kind of gotten out of it. And, I've said before, I'd rather start slow and finish fast. And they can do that, and it's not an either or. I mean, some teams, play well all season, but New Jersey's a good example of a team that is just on a tear.
Woo.
I mean, and the Bruins, there's another one. They're in the Atlantic. At least they're not in our division, but they're in the East.
Yeah.
And they're just playing lights out. And that's not going to continue, nor do I think that the Hurricanes' woes are going to continue. We're a little less than 25% of the way through the season.
Yeah.
And, I keep coming back to mentally for myself is we haven't seen, in my mind, a really complete game from everybody yet. And they're 10-5-3. They're getting points, not playing great. They're getting points playing okay. We don't. I don't care if we play great until we hit the playoffs. Then we need to play great. But
yeah,
I don't think it's doom and gloom. And I've seen a lot of doom and glooms out there.
Yeah.
I don't think the expectations at the start of the season were too high. I still think this team could be an Eastern Conference Finals, Stanley Cup Finals caliber team.
Yeah.
But they're putting in the work. Like they're having to go through and do the things that teams do. I think last year they started out just blowing people away.
Yeah.
And, they went 9-0 in October, but most of those games weren't close.
No.
And how do you grow from that? How do you learn from that?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, you look at last year in comparison to the year before. I mean, yes, Rod was still coaching back then, and people knew you were going to get a hardworking team. But I think there was a bit of underestimation there about the Canes as well. Further to that is the fact that, now you got Freddie Andersen in net for the first time, and two brand new goalies. what you guys are in trouble goaltending. There's so much that you don't know about what you have and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the Canes just go and blow the doors off of everyone and say, that's great that you're underestimating us. We'll take advantage of that and get going. You know what I mean? And get on that heater.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they did. No one underestimates what they're getting with the Canes. No one.
Not anymore.
Every game, you know, like, these are hardworking, fast. They've got a great reputation, but that means everyone's up for that game.
Mm-hmm.
No one looks at Carolina like they're a trap team game. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like that.
right.
It's just not that way. And so, you know, here we are. We're still up there. I thought it's kind of, I understand on my behalf that I have a Pollyanna view. I'm always looking for the best part of it. And you nailed it. The special teams faceoffs, they're not performing. We're not doing well, nowhere near what we would need to be considered an actual threat to win the championship, but we're still in the upper half of the league. And when Rod gets that going, you're going to see what we are all going to expect to see is the 5-on-5 effort remaining where it is, as it always has been for a long time, and the special teams actually doing their part and becoming special. Right now, not so special teams. That's
right.
really how we have to describe them.
Right. And realistically, so the Devils are, you know, in their last 10 or 10-0, and their win streak, I think, is 12.
12. It is 12 now.
But they're only 7 points up.
Which,
it's early. I mean, it's early. They're only 7 points up, and they've won 12 in a row. By the same token, real quick, Philadelphia, who started off on a tremendous heater, is 7-7.
Yeah.
You know, the Bruins, I mean, they've won 6 or 5, I think. They're 16-2. They have 32 points, which is even more than New Jersey.
Yeah.
But even with the Hurricanes playing okay but not great hockey, they're 4th in the East. And if they were out West, they'd be 4th in the West. That's not a terrible position.
No, you know, it is not.
You want to win the Metro. You want to have home ice. But once again, you know, New Jersey's goal differential is like plus 26. I mean, they're absolutely just smoking people.
Yep.
And I just can't see it continuing. Nobody plays at, you know, an 833 win percentage for a year. It just doesn't happen.
I'm a little on the other side of that, Brad. I don't think that it's reasonable to expect any team to have the lightning in a bottle for the entire season playing on that type of pace. It's just, you're right. That's not going to continue for the season, but I do think that they are legit. Like, we are here, says New Jersey.
I agree. I think they've turned the corner.
Yeah,
you know, I think it'll be Canes and Hurricanes at the top of the Metro.
Oh yeah, the Devils look absolutely great. They look absolutely great, and they're actually getting reasonable. I see. There's another team, puck control and shots and stuff. They're just not letting the other teams. They're not letting their opponents touch the puck. Well, this is ours, you know, and they just outshoot the margins are crazy how much they're outshooting other teams. So good for New Jersey. I think
I would love
legit.
to kick their butt in the playoff again.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice. You know, that with the history that we have too, right? Like, that would be whew. Now, Brad, as always, see, this is what I love about you, right? We lay out our itinerary for the thing, but he's fully engaged in the listening, fully engaged in the analysis. And while he's chatting it up and while he's listening and the back and forth, He's firing up more details and information so that we can keep going. That's why you're the brains of the operation.
We're
And
in trouble.
I'm looking at this, and we've got good news for the Canes. You put it on the board. It kind of stunned me. Lay it on us, Brad, because maybe some of our fans and listeners, I said our fans, maybe Hurricane fans and our listeners,
that's a lot more accurate.
that's a much more accurate, are going to want to hear this, because it is good news and surprising.
It really is. The minor good news, Tavo's on the ice, at least. He was on the ice with Max Pacioretty. Now, this was pre-practice. They came out, they did some skating, they were working, basically, one-on-one with the coaches.
Sure.
But Max, there's video, and Walt Ruff and I think Corey Laviolette have video on Twitter. I think I've shared both of those to Facebook and Twitter.
Wow.
He looks good. Like, he's doing like crossovers and things. He's doing things that are going to put some pressure on that Achilles.
Yeah.
And don't rush it. If he, I know he's skating. If he doesn't come back for 3 more months, I don't care. Take it slow, but it's great to just see him on the ice, because one of the things the Hurricanes are desperately missing is the reason Max is here. And that's a finisher. Somebody who can take the puck and put the darn thing in the net. And seeing Max skating gives me warm fuzzies.
Here's a question. Is Patches coming out onto the ice now maybe a prod to the rest of these forwards that someone's spot is going to be missing relatively soon? You know what I mean? The reminder that if you want your spot in the lineup, if you want to whatever, it's time to pick it up. Do you think there's a little bit of that in there?
I don't, because Rod Brindamore is our coach. And
right.
I've only met Rod a few times at fan events, but he seems like a very straightforward, tells you like it is. He feels like the kind of guy and coach, where you stand. I don't think that's a him thing. Like, I don't think that's a game that he would play.
Yeah.
If Lou Lamoriello was a part of the Hurricanes organization, I would say absolutely. He's messing with you.
Like, but he's just throwing that out there.
I feel like, and this goes back to Don Waddell too. Throughout the offseason, Don is like, I'm going to do X. And everybody's like, yeah, he's not going to do X. And then he does X, Yeah. I'm going to do Y. And everybody's like, yeah, he's going to do Y. And then he does Y. I don't think so. I think that if anything, maybe he was feeling up to it. They wanted to show the guys, hey, we have some reserves, not necessarily that your spot's going to be gone, but just, hey, we have some depth that's going to be coming back, and that's going to help out, keep it, keep things going. But it does beg the question of who's out of the top 6. And right now, I think it has to be Tavo, which I hate saying, but KK's playing at center, Tavo's a wing. And
the Patches play center too.
I think that we're going to have him on the wing, because they're going to want him mucking it up and putting pucks in the net.
See, here's my take. I would flip that. I would say, if you were bringing Patches back right away, that you would replace KK. Only because KK's bigger, stronger, more physical, and you can actually move him down, not out. Where do
Easier.
Where do you put Tavo?
It would have to be the fourth line.
It would have to be the fourth line, but the fourth line is just not the place for him. There's still a physical aspect of the fourth line and the reason why you're out there. You know what I mean? Like that's the only
True.
reason why. Like KK going down is he's still physical, he's still strong, he can center that up. It'll be great. Where do you put Tavo?
Right. And I think initially, I think when Patches comes back, I think we might see Patches on the fourth line to start. I think Patches may go in for like Stastny, who's not played well all year.
No.
We still have Kasha, who potentially could come back.
Yeah.
So, I would start Patches out slow, but you're right. I think ultimately Stastny is going to be the odd man out unless he does something to show us he shouldn't be. I think it's all going to funnel down to him riding the pine. And that could even be Kasha coming in, right?
Yeah.
And taking a spot. If he can come back and to be healthy, he wasn't the choice I would have made, but I had high hopes, but I don't know. We just haven't quite seen it. Noesen's on the top line. Could Noesen get moved back down? But once again, I think maybe Stastny's in the odd man out. And then maybe, because I would love to see Aho, Teravainen, and Patches and leave Jarvis with KK and Svechnikov, because that gives you a lot of bump and, a lot of high energy, especially with the second line. And it gives you two legit finishers on the top line, even though Tavo's on the wing. He loves to dish the puck. His favorite target's always been Aho. And if you could give him a second person to dish the puck to in Pacioretty, I mean, that could work.
Yeah, it would be, that'd be something.
And special teams. I mean,
you brought up a name, interestingly enough, that you started in on the discussion, and it's like you reached into my brain and pulls, because I was thinking about him when you were saying it. Noesen, what's your take on his first line efforts and stuff? I've enjoyed. I was surprised when he was moved up, but then I looked at what the results were, and he's doing well. He's contributing on that top line, and it's kind of one of those things where Noesen, who put up a lot of points last season, like he was a big goal scorer in Chicago. So it's funny. There's a lot of times where you see these really high talent sniper type players who come into the league and they're placed on the fourth line, and you don't see them, and you don't see them as much, and you don't get a real taste of their offensive abilities, on the fourth line. Whereas when Rod moved him up, it's like, okay, now we're going to get a real good look at his offensive prowess, because he's up there with the big guns. And with no disrespect to Stepan and Stastny, line mates on the fourth line, let's see what he can do on the top line. And he's fitting in. I'm impressed.
I've liked it. I think he's doing the things that are going to contribute to goals. They just haven't come. J-Fresh Hockey puts out their hockey cards, and they, some of those things. And Noesen right now is like a minus 3 point something for expected goals, which it's just, he was in the AHL all last year, 85 points in Chicago, 1.21 points per game. He was third in scoring behind teammate Andrew Podorowski, who's now in Seattle, and Tynan, who is out in LA, as I recall. So, I think he's doing the right things. I think the goals will come. I think some of that comes back to almost like Nature's last year, right? Some of it's confidence. Some of it's just the inability of those around him. Like, things just don't, I keep coming back to, like, they just feel like they're just not clicking quite right.
Yeah, not fitting.
But once they do, I feel like you have a few guys ready for a breakout. Jarvis looks like he's ready to put some in.
Yep.
Noesen's another one that I could see scoring some goals. Tavo, when he gets back, hopefully, whatever's been ailing him will be rested and he'll be ready to go.
Yeah.
But, Aho, Svech, Natchez, is still lighting the lamp. The pace has slowed a little bit, but he's still above. That's what happened last year. Like, so I want to be careful with that. I want to keep an eye on that. But, with being 20-ish% of the way through the season, I think overall they're in good shape. There's a lot to improve on. I don't see anything that makes me just go, oh, it's all over. But, you've just kind of got to keep rolling, right? Keep tweaking things, find things that work. The power play, something has to break on the power play. But if we don't score another power play goal until the playoffs, and then the power play suddenly just works, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, well,
I'll complain about it till it happens, but I would be okay with that, right?
Yeah, this is what we've wanted. Why were you waiting so long? All right.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure. Fire away.
So I thought Raanta's looked really good. I think Raanta's looked good enough to possibly supplant Andersen as kind of the de facto number one. I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Then Pyotr comes in and has a couple of just stellar games. I think long term, I think once Andersen is back, Kochetkov has to go back to the Wolves. He needs reps. He needs to see pucks at game speed. Yeah. However, until Andersen's back, I don't know that Kochetkov shouldn't be your number one. I think they're going to split it fairly evenly. Let me say that. I think they're going to just keep kind of playing them 50-50. So it's kind of a moot point. But if you ask me today, Brad, you can have Kochetkov or Raanta. I can't see how I don't say Pyotr.
You see, this is another one of those situations like last season when it was just Andersen and Raanta, and they were both playing lights out, where it didn't matter. You had reason to select either one of them.
Good problem to have.
And an excellent problem to have. We are really, teams are jealous of the situation that we have. I am just slightly on the other side of that. Knowing that we are in fine shape when you put in Kochetkov. See, that's the thing. When you go to games and you arrive at the rink and you look and you see who's come out of the, locker room first, there were times in this team, in every team's history, let's face it, where the backup goalie comes out and you go, it's going to be a tough one tonight, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't do that. You don't do that with Kochetkov. You just don't. You didn't do it with Raanta when Andersen was healthy and stuff like that. So we're in a fantastic situation. But if for me, Raanta is still number one, and the only reason why I say it, in fact, is we need Kochetkov's enthusiasm and strength and exciting, and what he brings to the team is great. But right now, with the penalty, like the special teams are just awful. You need kind of a steady hand. I like seeing the experience there. And I love seeing Kochetkov being able to come in and get big wins and play great games on nights when Raanta needs the night off. We just need a steady hand. I like
he's popping for a reason talking about Raanta, right?
Yeah, I love the veteran presence. So that's why. But only it's such a great problem to have. It's such a great problem to have. Like, he's so much fun to watch too. And you're right, you get it, right? It's a different vibe. He brings it seems like he brings a different vibe to the game. You know what I mean?
I feel like, and this could just be maybe the fan in me getting pumped up, but I feel like when Kochetkov is in net, there's a little more balance in everybody's step. And certainly I think in us as fans, social media, people love having Kochetkov in net. I mean, he's exciting to watch. Like for those of you listening who didn't get to see guys like Urbe play for the Canes in their prime, for us old timers, it brings back those memories, and we go, oh, like, you think he's going to give you a heart attack, but he finds a way, and I love seeing those kinds of guys. So I think the steady hand I would like to see with Winnipeg, and then we have Arizona. I don't know, but against Boston on Friday, I'm very seriously considering going to the game, so I get to see the Canes here in Boston, and I really want to see Kochetkov in net against Boston, against Marchand, against Marchie, because I feel like Pyotr will be up for that game in the right kind of way. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's the kind of game when he could really shut down the Bruins. I'm not talking shut up, but just limit them, really take away some of their aggression. It really just, that would feel so good.
It would. You want to hear something funny? You picked Boston because you wanted Kochetkov to face Marchand, and I'm seeing that right now, the interactions that they've already had just to have come back for round 2. That's fantastic.
I'd love to see Pyotr just knock him in the face one good time. Yeah.
There you go. The game that I thought I would love to see Pyotr the Great take on St. Louis. And
Bennington? My gosh.
Because Bennington has made kind of a name for himself, where he's, like, he's just being a jerk, like,
right,
not the good kind of jerk.
No.
And the other kind. And there's been a couple of times where he's bumped goaltenders and stuff, like, you want to go cut type thing. Can you imagine him trying that on Pyotr?
Bennington is the wrong kind of crazy goaltender. Like, we all know goaltenders are off.
A little slightly.
I feel like there's something going on with Bennington, because that guy's kind of off his rocker sometimes. Even my Blues fans, who are friends of mine, are like, kind of embarrassed, and he's the wrong kind of crazy goaltender. But December 1st, we'll find
December
out, right?
1st, it might be Christmas come early for everyone who is tired of Bennington's, crapola.
I think Bennington is like a lot of guys, where he's an agitator, but I don't know if he can fight.
Shrinking violet.
I feel very confident that Pyotr can fight. Like, that might actually be, for those of you listening, that might actually be the game to tune into in St. Louis.
There you go.
Because a goalie fight could certainly break out between if Kochetkov's in net. If it's Raanta, it won't be. I don't think Ranta's that guy.
No.
Yeah, okay, whatever. But we've seen Pyotr, like, take on the entire Iowa team in the AHL.
That would be just
give Marchie a push and a shove and a slash, in the playoffs. Right?
In the playoffs,
I'm not taking it from you. I don't care who you are. I love it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Now, I also see something else here on our list that you've thrown out there, and I'm going to let you explain it. The 2-letter in quotations, we.
So I alluded to this earlier. It came up, and I apologize. I will try and find out who brought this up on Twitter. But one of the folks that we follow, who follows the show, said, they were talking hockey. They do what we sometimes do, and they said we when referring to the team.
Yeah.
And apparently their boss was like, "Oh, are you part of the team?" And is one of those people. And I'm going to classify the people as those people.
Yeah.
My response was, I've known the Hurricanes and been a Caniac longer than I've known my wife.
Yeah.
The Hurricanes are like the third wheel in our marriage. I have every right to say we. But I just thought, for fun, I have no problem with it. People get invested. you're not part of the team, but you are part of the fandom. And for those of us who are doing things like, I spend a couple hours, every week doing research and doing a podcast, and we have jerseys and pants, and I'm wearing a hoodie and hats, and my kids starting to fall in love with it. And you're not, when you say we, in my opinion, you're not saying we as an I am part of the team. You're looking at it holistically, right? You're looking at the big picture. We, Caniac Nation, that includes the team. It includes the staff that, the organization employs, the people in Gale Force Holdings. It includes the fans. It includes the people who do concessions and marketing. Anybody associated with it, to me, should be allowed to say we. I've seen the sportscasters on the radio up here. A couple of them will dog you if you say we when referring to the team. And it's just, to me, another form of gatekeeping. But I just thought I'd bring it up. And what's your opinion, Ray? Because I feel like you've slipped up and done it before. I don't do it intentionally, but if I do it, I don't feel the least bit bad. There's been a lot of money and blood, sweat, and tears, between me and the team that I love. So for me, if people say we, let them say we,
You're going to love this. So I do it all the time. And in my opinion, Caniacs, more than pretty much every team in the league, have a right to say we. Loudest building in the league. Loudest. Fired up. They always, and that type of, they are the fans that make the home ice advantage truly a home ice advantage.
Absolutely.
When the players need that jump, it's the fans that are the ones providing the fuel that'll get on them when they're not playing well, disapprovingly or whatever. But when they see what things that they like, they fire it up even more, and it's that adrenaline rush, right? So they have every right to say we. I say we all the time, but I know that I do something that is very funny and ironic, and I do it all the time too, and so do many people who do say we. And I think you know where I'm going with this.
Continue.
When we're talking about the great things that are happening, we've got these great stars like Svechnikov, and we are, we're loving what Nate is doing and stuff like that. The power play is not scoring. Man, they are struggling. Man, they are. It's the they, dichotomy, right? We, when we're speaking about the good things, they, when it's the bad ones.
That's a great point.
I do it all the time.
Too. Now that I think, I've never thought of it till you said it.
And it's, I do it all the time. And it's like, yes, it's like me admitting that I have a problem with alcohol, right? I fully admit that I do the they. I do they all the time. I wish I didn't. I don't want anyone to think that I am not a true Caniac because I do the they. It's just it's a human,
right?
A human essence, right? Like this is something that we as humans do all the time.
I never really thought about it, but I know that at least some of the time I do the same thing. Now I can be cognizant. I would almost flip this. If you are truly a hardcore devoted fan, like the team is part of your identity, part of your family, if you don't occasionally say we, I can't trust you as a fan. If it's always, because the we also makes it personal. Mm-hmm. Like that's one reason I think people use we is because they want to express like this is something I'm invested in, and that's all that really matters. Versus it being very clinical and being like, oh, yes, I'm a huge fan of like the Patriots, and it's always the Patriots. I'm not, by the way, but just they're the local big team, right?
Yeah.
the we says, no, like this is something that I'm giving part of myself to. Like this is part of me. This is part of who I am. And I didn't think you would object.
No,
having said we a million times on this program between us.
yeah.
But it's just one of those things where I saw the Twitter thread and I'm like, are people still like that's still a thing, right? The other one that caught my eye the other week, it comes up all the time. It really doesn't bother me, but I just kind of have to laugh is, somebody posted a photo like, oh, that person's wearing, a jersey of a team that's not playing. And I kind of laugh because I'm like, I get it on one level, like it's kind of silly, but at the same time, I'm like, if I'm going to see the Bruins play the Canucks, I'm wearing a Hurricanes jersey. Like, because on TV, there's going to be this one red jersey in a sea of yellow or black and gold.
Represent.
And somebody's going to go, oh, like, hey, there's a Caniac there. Like, what's that guy? But hey, I'm going to represent my team, right?
You're gonna love this. In Calgary, there was a comment about, was it in Calgary? No, because it happened in Edmonton. They showed me a video of it. Our guests, they had showed me a video of the game they were watching in Edmonton when they were 2 nights earlier, where the TV crew in the arena is scanning, looking around everywhere, right? And then they hone in on one particular individual, and then they're showing everyone, all the Oilers jerseys, and everyone's having a good time. And then they come to this person who's wearing the jersey of a team that's not playing, and they put a lost fan alert. It's like they put that up there, they make fun of it, right? And I enjoy it. I think it's cute. I always like, that's the first thing that my wife, on the trip to Raleigh, that was the first thing that Ron Francis said to my wife when we met him after the game. She was in her Leafs jersey. Now, Ron wore a Leafs jersey, right? So it's apropos at the very least. But the first words out of his mouth was, you're wearing the wrong jersey. It was so funny. I mean, it was great, and I loved it, right? But I mean, that it's funny, the we they. I think one thing that I'd like to say is that the question that I'd ask is it okay if I am the type of person that says we when it refers to your team? I say, yes, it is, if it's one of your identifying features. When people ask my friends about Raymond, one of the things that they always say, oh, huge Hurricanes fan.
Right.
It's one of my identifying feature. Anyone who knows me knows how much I love this team, that I am fanatical. I am a fanatical fan, and they know and associate me with Carolina. That's why I can say we.
Right. I'm right there with you. I know all of my neighbors' dogs' names, but not all my neighbors' names.
Yep.
But I definitely, like, we have a Facebook group for dads in my town, and I definitely am known as like that Hurricanes flag guy or that Hurricanes guy.
Go.
Like
that's why you
totally
can say
okay
we.
with that. Yeah, it's
that's
like,
why
yeah,
you can say
that's
we.
the we.
Yeah, there it is.
I just thought it was one of those things that would just be worth,
it's great to touch
what's
on.
your opinion? It's, why not? Like, have a little fun with it.
It is. And you know what? It's a reminder that it's okay for me to say we, as long as I don't say they.
Yeah,
I'm for
going
everything.
to consciously think about that the next time I am talking about the power play or the PK or
They. Let's not do that anymore. I'll make a point of trying not to do that as well. I will slip. We should actually, as a joke, we should keep track of the amount of times that we slip And at the end of the season, whoever had more has to do something for the other guy.
Oh, I was gonna say we put like $1 in a Wee jar.
Yeah.
And then in February when you come down to Raleigh, I meet you there.
Oh, that'll be a
That'll be like
party to
barbecue
beat.
money.
It will be outstanding. Man, we've covered it all. Look, let's take a quick look at the games forthcoming. Winnipeg on Monday, and then I know that Friday, Black Friday, for everyone in the United States. Happy Thanksgiving to our American listeners,
Oh
which
yeah,
will be most of
because we
you.
won't record till
Happy
after.
Thanksgiving. Yeah, we won't be recording to so. And again, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have all sorts of great festivities and enjoy your families. That's what it's all about. I know that on Friday we've got the game Black Friday in Boston that you should go to represent. But I know we've got another game in between, right?
We have the Coyotes.
Coyotes. They are not to be trifled with. You want to hear a weird stat about them?
Always.
The Coyotes, I heard this on NHL network, that the Coyotes are paying out gamblers better than almost everyone in the league. And the reason why is because they are continually put in as a huge underdog in every game that they go into, and they're winning a lot of games. The return on the money that is being gambled on Arizona is amazing, because no one thinks they're going to win. No one thinks they're capable of victories. And so their odds are so high.
Mm-hmm.
You throw in a few bucks there, and I'm not promoting gambling. I guess I should say that, because it's not for everyone, but they've paid a lot. So, and that message alone should be enough to say, please don't be a trap game.
They're still an
Please
NHL franchise,
play
right?
down. Exactly. You can't play down to them. So look, big game against the Jets. Hellebuck is back. Connor is back. That is a team that is playing really well. Number 2 in the Central. And they have, they're working hard. They're playing well. And anytime you come into a hot goaltender. Now, the bad news for the Jets is Rod is clearly upset.
Yeah.
With the effort, and the team has enough self-awareness that they're upset with their effort on yesterday. And so the Canes will be bringing it. And so it should be interesting to see how the team reacts to Rod's comments after the last game and see what we get there. As far as the Coyotes go, you got to win the games that you're supposed to win. You put them on paper. There's no way that the Coyotes should be any threat to the Hurricanes.
Yep.
But take them seriously, deal with them properly, win your game, play your full 60. That's what we want. And then the Boston game.
It's
Black
Boston
Friday.
on Friday, and then Calgary on Saturday, which it'll be up in your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
No offense, Ray. If they have to only win one of the two of those, I hope it's Boston.
Yeah, no, I don't mind either. You know what I mean? Like, and yeah, I'd like them to win the Boston game. It would be a bigger statement. It would be a bigger statement. And let's go in there and give them what for, like we did last season, not last playoffs, right? Because this is in Boston. Let's prove to them that we can actually win a game in Beantown. And then just put out the Flames. Put out the Flames.
There you go. I said the other week that if Kochetkov got in a fight, that I would I donate $50 to cancer research, and I'm going to up that for the Bruins game again. I'll post that on social media.
Nicely
if Kochetkov gets into it, particularly if it's with Marchand, I'll double it. But if he gets into it with a Bruin, I will donate $50 for cancer research. With it being Hockey Fights Cancer Month.
Nice. That's absolutely outstanding. I've loved seeing every team has been doing the pink warm-up jerseys and stuff like that and it's great. It's who are you playing for? And I mean
It's something that affects
those
us
are
all,
great.
right?
Yeah, it absolutely does. It absolutely does. That about covers it, doesn't it? I mean, we've talked about so much in this. No guests this time around, but remember, a reminder to the listeners, the Storm Cellar is always open. Drop us a line if you'd like to be a part of the show and chat with us and get your opinion out there. Maybe you want to get onto the show and say, the two of us, what are you guys watching? Because I'm watching this. That's what we want. Dialogue, chatting, having fun.
If you're we can't say we person, we want to hear from you.
Yeah. There you go. Yes, absolutely. We'd love to talk to them. I'd love to talk to them and let them, have their say.
Absolutely.
That'd be great. But we've covered so much. There really isn't much more to say anymore now, is there?
Go Canes.
Yeah. Go Canes. Yeah.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.